I've got more to share on the quarterback front this morning. That doesn't keep you tuned in. I can't imagine what would. Good morning to you. Good Tuesday morning. I'm Dejan Kovacevic of DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Daily Shot of Steelers, which is clearly not above cheap teases. It comes your way bright and early every weekday if you're into hockey and or baseball. I also offer daily shots of Penguins and Pirates, the other two teams in town that I cover, in the same place that you found this. They like Justin Fields. This is additional information on top of what I reported exclusively last Friday about how much they don't like Russell Wilson. Now, reiterating for emphasis and clarity, when I say they, I couldn't conceivably be referring to 100% of everybody in that building, because that's just not how humans work. So I never mean to intimate that. I'm referring to the people with whom I communicate, and not anybody else. And those people, I can tell you unequivocally, are eager to have Fields as their QB1, as their guy, as their potential solution for the franchise QB thing. And I'm going to elaborate on what that means. To start, confirming what your own eyes should have shown you, they saw a real maturation with Fields that began early in the summer, that carried over into Latrobe, that carried over into the preseason, and that very much carried over into his first 6 starts. They saw reads, they saw good decisions, they saw all of the stuff that everyone would have expected to see, meaning, the arm strength, mobility, and everything else that he'd already shown in Chicago. But they also saw something that nobody saw in Chicago, which was that through those 6 starts, he threw exactly 1 interception. There were some fumble issues on center quarterback exchanges that appeared to be getting cleaned up between him and Zach Frazier, but nothing that looked like it was a systematic issue or something that would plague him. And to be honest here, I'd rather see fumbles on center quarterback exchanges for the purposes of this conversation than I would just handling the ball like a loaf of bread on a routine basis. We didn't see that at all. We saw him responsible with the football once he got it from Frazier. The Steelers also both acknowledged and appreciated his accuracy through those first, we're going to say 4 games here. He started to lose a little bit of that in his 5th and 6th. But the part that they like is that those first 4 games continued a trend of really, really high levels of accuracy in his throws that began in camp and preseason and everything else. He'd been doing that all summer, is what I'm saying. They believe, and I'm going to repeat here, this is not speculation on my part, this is reporting. They believe that there's more there. They believe that he's on the upswing. And yes, they'd like to bring him back. And they'd like to have him be their starter. And that's it. That's all the additional information that I have. However, I want to throw this in because it's been getting brought up quite a bit since my original report about Wilson came out last Friday. And that's this. If the Steelers, and I'm putting that in quotes, felt this way about Fields, and if they also felt this way about Wilson, meaning the stuff that they didn't like, why did Mike Tomlin stick with him, meaning Wilson, after Wilson's game had clearly gone south the way it did over the final handful of games? The correct answer to this question is I don't know. And I think that's the fairest answer to that question that I can give. Tomlin was, of course, asked countless times during that stretch, and then again after that stretch, why he was favoring the quarterback that he was favoring, and his answer would always be something along the lines of, that's just our quarterback. That's the decision that was made. Well, for me, that's not good enough, but this isn't Guantanamo Bay. I can't put him in an orange jumpsuit and force him to answer questions, contrary to what a lot of people will think whenever they bring stuff up with reporters. He's free to answer or not answer however he wants. It's not a matter of how tough are the questions. So I don't know why Tomlin stuck with Wilson. if I had a guess, and I'll clearly label it a guess, it was a combination of not wanting to be wrong whenever he stood there and crowed in front of everybody that this is why he gets the big bucks to make changes like this, back when he changed from Fields to Wilson. And the other one is that as he got closer to the playoffs, I mean, to ask Fields to go back in there, say, for example, for the playoff game in Baltimore, that would have been kind of rough and arguably unfair. I'm sure Fields would have embraced it. Fields would have been thrilled with it. But that doesn't necessarily mean that it was the right thing to do there. Fields hadn't started a game since week 6, and now you're going to put him out there for week 1 of the playoffs. So I'm thinking that might have been a reason too. Bottom line, regardless of any of that, they like Fields. When we come back, J1Q. This segment of Daily Shot is brought to you by our good friends at Mike's Beer Bar. They're located on Federal Street, directly across from PNC Park. Mike has more than 500 beers on tap, including from more than 50 local breweries. Stop in and say hello. Tell Mike we sent you. Mike's Beer Bar. Today's J1Q comes from Cody. He says, DK, I can see a lot of our deficiencies being potentially solved through the draft or free agency, but I can't see how the offensive line that had a bad season gets fixed. I can't imagine a dramatic overhaul or influx of talent to the personnel, and we seem to be keeping the same coaches. So is the solution to hope that the young guys just get better? Do we trust Broderick Jones to have a bounce-back season under the same instruction? Can we trust Troy Fautanu to stay healthy? Is that even a solution to a major issue? I have concerns about this line. One of them is very much in the macro, which is that a lot of first-round capital was just invested in this group. And if you want to throw in the second round as well. 3 of the starting 5 next season will be 2 first-rounders in Fautanu and Jones, and a second-rounder in Zach Frazier, and, of course, a 4th-rounder in Mason McCormick, as long as I'm at it. That's 4 out of the 5 guys, including the lone current veteran in Isaac Seumalo. And, yeah, they have to improve. And the only way that you can improve at the NFL level is through NFL instruction, meaning NFL caliber, NFL quality instruction. Do the Steelers have that under Pat Meyer? The easy answer is to say no, because you'll just focus on Jones. I'll remind that Meyer also was teaching Frazier. So if you're going to demerit for one, you'll give credit for the other. It still doesn't balance out. Meyer has not shown himself to be a strength of this staff. I'm going to remind here that Art Rooney said 2 weeks ago that the Steelers are not done having all of their internal discussions regarding coaching. To date, they've lost Aaron Curry, their inside linebackers coach, and appear to be doing something in the secondary, although it's not clear what. And that's it. That's it. Now, as someone who called for a change at head coach, that's obviously not going to be sufficient. That's not going to be enough change. I don't say that because of, trying to act out or that the Steelers should show who's boss or whatever. It's about just getting better, the players getting better. And to me, if that wasn't going to happen at the very top, then it had to happen among the positional coaches. I'm going to reiterate, I believe in Arthur Smith. I'm going to reiterate, I don't believe Terrell Austin is even the defensive coordinator. And from there, all of the dialogue goes to the next tier down, beginning, in my mind, with Meyer. This isn't about, and this is something that gets conflated a lot, I think, in these kinds of conversations. This isn't about whether or not Meyer is to blame for Jones or whatever else. This is about, do you have the best possible person or at least one of the 32 best possible people on the planet doing that job? Do you have that right now? Because that's what it should be. That's what every one of these positions should be. So the burden of proof isn't on, was he to blame or responsible for this? It's, what has he done? Meaning from the positive perspective, what's he brought? I'm with you, Cody. I can't fathom that the 2025 season would go much differently at all for the Steelers than 2024 did, for the same reason I principally was skeptical about the 2024 season. This has to get straightened out, and you're right, it's not going to be through personnel, it's not going to be through more first-round picks, it's not going to be through more free agency dollars. It's got to be done in-house with this group, by and large. I appreciate the question. I appreciate everybody listening to Daily Shot of Steelers. We'll do another one of these tomorrow.